All right, good morning, everybody. Looks like we have a whole lot of the same thing that we've been seeing the last couple of trading days. Looks like we are stuck in that kind of wait and see type of market where we are looking for that data coming out later in the week. We have NVIDIA earnings. We've got some big economic data. We have Jackson Hole, just a bunch of stuff happening later in the week, which is obviously scaring people. They don't want to pick a direction before that data comes out. So looking at our trade plan, I think the only change I'm going to make is we're going to lower this level here down to 80. And then we're going to keep our targets the same, 65, 55. I think that's perfectly fine. And then staying above 95, we're looking for that breakout into 12 and 20. Basically, just a very standard D-shaped profile trade plan. Looking for rotations until we get out of that value. So if we see a value breakout, we'll be more one directional. But until then, we are two directional, just going back and forth. Let's see, do we have to change anything here? Below 204, 120, and 46. 120, we'll probably lower that down to the overnight low. Let's say 94. And then above 204, rotate to 330. Above that, 430 and 500. That is perfectly fine. You could probably lower 500 to like 480 because of the prior day high. What was the change I made on ES? Let me see. We lowered that down to 80. Okay. Yeah, so like I said, very, very standard D-shaped profile. Looking for rotations until we see some type of value breakout. Keep it on VWAP at 83 and then 200. We are trading below VWAP. We lost VWAP around 830. And it has not reclaimed it since then. And where has this year gone? We are almost into September already, which is absolutely insane. Keep it on VWAP here. We just tapped it on ES. We are breaking through it on NASDAQ pretty easily. Good morning, everybody. You want Julio, Abby, Luis, Leo, Steven, Morris, Lubomir, Blood, Larry, Peter. Good morning, Scott. Good morning, Ike, AT, Greg, Anthony, eBay, Fernando, Lulu, Crypto, Scott, D, Devil. Good morning, Jay, Angelo. Appreciate you guys being here. Not seeing any sell pressure on VWAP, or so far even slightly above VWAP. Buyers doing a good job here. They do need to build a node. They are getting kind of exhausted for now. They are trying to rotate back into that value high, so keep an eye on 95 up here. As for the calendar for today, let's see. We had a bunch of data come out already, and we don't really have anything else left on the day, actually. So we had PCE 0.2 as expected, GDP 1.5 as expected, price index 6.4, higher than expected. Core durable 0.4, lower. Durable goods 1.1, much higher. Personal income 0.4, doubling the expectation. Personal spending 0.2, also doubling the expectation. And that is it. Finding a little bit of sellers above VWAP. Like I said, buyers getting slightly exhausted here. They do need to find some value very quickly. Want a Ronaldo, Faraz, Stream, Ryder, Scooby, Rocket, Small World. Appreciate you guys being here. Apex did announce another sale. They're doing 90% off, and they brought back the legacy accounts, which actually have a very good deal. 90% off, but you also have 80% recurring on those as well. If you guys do buy any new accounts with the code, be sure to send those to me before the 1st of the month. Send me the receipts, I mean, so I can get you guys added into the raffle. We will be pulling that whenever the 1st or 2nd of the month is. When is that? That's going to be Tuesday or Wednesday. So you have about a week left. If you buy any new accounts on that new sale, just be sure to send them over. Let me grab my email for you guys. There you go. Just be sure to send them to that email before next Wednesday, and I will get you guys added to the monthly raffle. Keep an eye on the 24 EMAs here. Losing that, we are going back into that downward rotation, possibly testing that lower tail. Yeah, we've got a lot of stuff happening over the next couple of days. So today might be another wait and see type of day, unfortunately. We have NVIDIA, Jackson Hole, all that stuff going on. Also, Warsh's first Jackson Hole, so that'll be interesting. He is speaking early on Friday at that meeting. A very good candle here, very consistent value throughout this candle, doing a good job building value on that way back down, and then obviously protecting it and pushing it back up. Word salad conference, yeah. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. He's done a fairly good job at the press conferences so far, I think. I think the reporters are also being a little bit better for him. At least as of right now, he doesn't have like a ton of, I guess, political drama. Like Pal had a bunch of political drama tied to him, so they could constantly ask him like political questions. They can't exactly do that with Warsh just yet. I'm sure something will happen, and then they'll be able to fill a bunch of their questions with bullshit. But so far, it's been fairly clean. I'm sure as we get closer to the midterms, it's going to get worse. Keep an eye on 330. If it stays above today's value high, you are still pretty much in the exact same rotation of yesterday. 695 for ES if it doesn't stall right here. No, 20 minutes is way too long. It's usually like 5 minutes. Like 5 to 10. It really just depends on what's happening. Our opens have not been that bad recently. They've been pretty smooth. Our opens like a month ago, if you guys remember when it was doing the thing where it would like shoot up and then just chop right back down, or shoot down and then chop right back up. They had those like disgusting reversals in the first like 5-10 minutes. You're not really doing that very much right now. It's fairly smooth. It's fairly one directional on the open. You still get a little bit of that chop, but it's not insane. I think first 5 minutes is okay for right now. That was tough. Yeah, that was a really bad time. That month of like opening chop and then really low liquidity. Very big block trade there. 1,200 contracts, wiping out the book. Pushing the book up a little bit there. Let's take a quick look across the board here. Oil bottoming out a little bit, not much. Gold topping out a little bit. And then Bitcoin is still topping out a little bit as well. How's the dollar doing? Dollar bottoming out a little bit. So dollar's still doing a good job being inverse commodities. Went from 500 to not be able to pass. Yeah, it's just a different market. Like the market shifted a lot in the last like month or two. It went from being fairly smooth to like really, really choppy, low liquidity, very high chop around the open, very headline driven, to now we're like a little bit of a mix of both, where we have better liquidity. It's not as choppy. Like obviously on the higher time frames we're choppy, right? But I mean like playbook wise, the plays are not as choppy. The liquidity is slightly better, but it is still being headline driven. You still have like the Iranian headlines, you have the tariff headlines, you have the Jackson Hole stuff coming out. So we're like a mix of the last couple of months together. Any prop firms for crypto? I don't think there's any like well-regulated ones in the US. I think there are some overseas. I don't believe there's regulated ones in the US right now. I haven't done any big research on those though. It's the same with like any other crypto. Just be very careful and do your research. What the heck's going on today? I think this is almost exactly on brand for what we should expect today. Like I was saying earlier this week, if Tuesday was not going to be the breakout day that we needed, then unfortunately, this is what it's doing. If it wasn't going to break out before the data came out, then they're just going to wait on the data. So we have NVIDIA earnings, Jackson Hole, like I said. So we are just in a wait and see market. When that data comes out, we might get a push up, we might get a push down. But until then, we're just rotating. You can see Tuesday tried to be the day that we thought it was going to be. Very strong break to the upside, very strong break to the downside. But they rejected both of those breaks. So now we just have that overlap. Which now at this point, because Tuesday was not the breakout day, if today breaks out before the NVIDIA earnings, before the Jackson Hole, we can't really trust that breakout anymore. It would have been better if it broke out on Tuesday, then it kind of confirmed it today. Then you could trust that a little bit more. But if you're breaking out the day before massive earnings, then good luck trusting that. It's like a breakout before CPI. Yeah, this is honestly a perfect market for just overlapping value, overlapping rotations. Sellers are protecting mostly around 90 to 700, so it's like a 10-point range there. You had one break above turn into a trap. Buyers are mostly protecting, I would say, 74 to 64, kind of a 10-point range there. And then you had a couple of breaks below, but they were quickly reversed. You're getting very constricted right now because you have those higher lows, but you also have the lower highs as well, especially if you zoom out, obviously. You still have lower highs for quite a while. I wouldn't trust any value unless it's holding aggressively above 700 or realistically below like 65. The buyer value needs to hold above 700, very strong node, and then a very strong node below, I'd say like 7. You could probably tighten this up a little bit. Might be able to say like 67, 70, somewhere around there. You can see where all those wicks are basically. But for now, this is pretty much textbook rotation and overlapping rotation. Keep an eye on VWAP on this pullback here. Like I said, just very textbook rotation. We are rotating back down to 80. I'll be right back. It's a very strong 30-minute close, closing damn near on the top of the candle and pretty much pushing into the value of yesterday. So this is where I was talking about earlier. If this gets very bullish, they need to build a strong node above like 700, 705, just kind of in this general upper tail area, because you can see every time that we push these tails, they do not build nodes. If they did have a node, it was more likely on the way down when it was selling off to go back into value. They lost that node. A lot of sell pressure coming in, pushing it back down. Basically, same thing here. Sold off. Same thing here. Pushed up, sold off. So we don't really have a strong node up here that is actually being protected, right? So that is the big deciding factor if they want to actually shift this value, which we were talking about the last couple of days. We don't have those lower lows anymore. So now we have equal lows and higher lows. So if we want to shift this, you have to see that very obvious upper node. Yeah, using extended or like the cash hours, it's really personal preference. I think the extended is better for the most part because it just gives you more data. You just have more information. The cash hours just give you gaps, right? So if you don't look at extended, you don't really know why that gap is being made. So that's the big benefit of extended, downside of cash hours. But other than that, it's really personal preference. Whatever you prefer to trade, whatever's cleaner for you. But you are cutting out a lot of information for yourself if you're only looking at cash. So yet again, struggling to really build a solid node up here that is being protected. They are building a node, but they're not really staying above it. If they can stay above 700 and constantly protect it, that's a different story. So like right now, I always talk about rotating nodes, right? And if you zoom in, it's a lot easier to see. But we had this node around like 700, we have a node around 96. You could say they're protecting the 96 node because they keep bouncing back down and then pushing off of it. But the 700 node, they're like rotating it. They're going back and forth. If you're protecting it, it'd be more so like, okay, let's go to 03. Let's come back down. Okay, back to 03. Come back down. Okay, now let's look for higher value. You're not really doing that, right? So keep an eye on that. We'll see if they can start doing that. If not, it's just going to go right back down. Keep it on VWAP here, 92 and then 88. Keep an eye on VWAP. We're on that session VWAP now. So no change here. They tested the upper tails. They are still being protected by the sellers. You are not seeing that node build above that 700. You did have a couple of nodes, but they were not protected. You had a node at 96. You had a node at 700, but look at where we are. We're just not bouncing off of those nodes. So no break of balance here. I think we're back. My stream is crashing on YouTube. If you guys are in Discord, you should still be able to hear me, but the Discord's like crashing up and down. Keep an eye on VWAP here. VWAP at 88. If we lose that, we are going down to 80, which is that full rotation. Okay, here is the 80 retrace that will finish the retrace of, I think, today and yesterday. Let me double check here. Yeah, today and yesterday lines up at 80. So then below 80, it starts same exact thing up top. If they can't build a strong node, it's just going to go right back up. So no strong node below, I'd say like 77, 75. You're just going to go right back up. Here is that 80 level. You want to see him? T, I did not see your question. Let me see. Yeah, T. So, like, typically in the trending markets, like the pullbacks to VWAP, the pullbacks to the responsive levels, like the trails, the EMAs, all that stuff, that typically is a good thing to look out for. In the ranging markets like today, or honestly the last like week or so, you're really just looking for rotations. It's just selling the value high, buying the value low. Not blindly, obviously. I mean, sometimes you can do it blindly and it works. But just looking for sweeps, looking for rollovers around those areas. Just basically, literally what I did here, like drawing boxes about where you want to take trades and looking for any patterns around those boxes. These days are so easy, but it makes them so hard because people don't think that the easy thing is going to work. And they constantly want to trade the breakout of the value, but it's failed value breakouts literally every single time. So if you just look at the highest probability thing to happen and try to trade that, it's a lot easier. Like trading the rotations is much, much easier than looking for the breakout here. The breakout is failing like literally every time. Probably won't fail over the next couple of days. You might finally see some breakouts, but right now it's not the case. Yeah, I started watching From. From was pretty good, but then I realized it was made by the Lost people, and I kind of lost a lot of interest. No pun intended. Um, because I was kind of getting the vibe of like it felt like it was the same as Lost. And I don't like shows that are just suspense, 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 but no payoff. And that's where From was going. From was just, let's add a new twist. Let's add another crazy thing. Well, okay, let's add something else. Oh, we didn't finish that. All right, let's add two more things. So, like, it wasn't tying up any loose ends. It wasn't finishing anything. It was just constantly adding, like, new things. for you to be shocked by, right? Hopefully it has more payoff in like the new season or like the later seasons, but the ones that I watched didn't really have too much payoff. The only thing I'm watching recently is Lioness. And Lioness is fantastic. I didn't have like high hopes for these like next few seasons because normally seasons like with shows like that, they get worse and worse. It's also funny because like the Lioness season now is like based in my area, so they're like constantly name dropping things that are in my area, so it's just funny. Talking about going to Fair Oaks Mall and Dulles Airport and stuff like that. Season 4 is a lot of payoff. Gotcha. Yeah, I might have to check it out. That was my problem with the season 3, especially. It like added a bunch of shit, but it didn't close anything. I don't mind if they like keep adding twists if they've closed the other twist, right? They closed the other lines, right? But for like 3 seasons, I think I watched the 3rd season. I'm pretty sure I did. From they just kept adding more and more and more. I like shows like that when you can kind of play along and you can figure it out on your own, right? Like they give you little hints. It's not super easy to figure out, but if you pay attention, you can figure it out. Like that's fun, right? But if you can't figure it out, if they're not giving you any payoff, then there's no fun, right? I don't know. You used to work in the Fair Oaks Mall way back in the 80s. Yeah, it's still a booming hub. That hub has gotten. I don't know if you've been there recently. That hub is massive now. The Tysons, Reston Town Center, all that whole area. That area has exploded. Like I said, it's becoming the new Silicon Valley. Yeah, Tyson's Corner, Tyson's area. It's where Apple had their first store. It's where MicroStrategy is based. Damn near all the headquarters for all the military contractors are in that area. You've got Lockheed, you've got Northrop. Yeah, it's just shows like that. Like action shows are always going to have stuff like that. You just got to turn your brain off for those type of shows. Lioness is kind of like that, but it does a good job. You're trying to bounce right off that 80 level. It's bouncing a little bit early, like a few ticks early, but you're basically just rotating back up here. It's kind of stalling though. It is stalling a little bit on VWAP. If it can't break through VWAP soon, it's going to fail to rotate here. Yeah, it's just the close proximity to DC. That's why this whole area has exploded. The suburbs around DC and Maryland, Virginia, they've just completely exploded. A lot of foreign money as well. The ones that want to be close to DC. Then you have Dulles, the airport. It sounds like I'm saying Dallas, but it's called Dulles. It's the international airport in the area. They're one of the biggest hubs for H-1Bs in the country. So, like I said, a lot of foreign money. You might like Severance, T, if you haven't seen that. It's not exactly the same as like From, but it has that same vibe. Like psychological, I don't know if I'd really say drama. Oh, you already seen it? Yeah. Oh yeah, Dark Matter's coming back. That's actually a good one. I talk a lot of shit about Apple shows. I cannot stand Apple shows. I think Apple has like the worst track record of shows of any platform I've ever seen. Um, but Dark Matter's not bad. It did get worse, I think. I think towards the end of the season it got worse, if I remember correctly. But I'll give the second season a try. Now Apple has a curse. Apple is very good for like one season or like the first half of the season, and then their shows just completely fall apart. So we'll see if season 2 of that show is good. I don't think I've made it past season 2 of any Apple show. Like I start watching season 2 of every single show and I'm like, okay, this is terrible. It seems like, and I'm just talking out of my ass, I have no idea. But it seems like Apple, like as a studio, gets like heavily involved in the shows after season 1 does well. Because they dramatically change the like vibe or the atmosphere of the show. It just completely shifts from season 1 to season 2 or season 3. Slow Horses. I started that one. You guys told me to try that, but I think I've only watched like 1 or 2 episodes. But that's an older one. So that's kind of hard to say because that's like one of the very first shows I think on Apple, and I don't think it started on Apple. Did that start on Apple or did that start on something else and then get ported to Apple? Yeah, don't get me wrong. They have fantastic first seasons. Like, what was that one show called? The Space Show, for All Mankind. Season 1, phenomenal. Season 2, pretty bad. What else? What was that other sci-fi one? Their like main sci-fi show. Not Silo. Silo, same exact thing though. Silo, season 1 was pretty good. I did not like season 2. I don't even think I finished season 2. Yeah, Foundation. Foundation, season 1, phenomenal. Season 2, dog shit. And obviously these are just my opinions. It's TV shows are like artwork, right? We're all gonna like what we like. But I don't know, man. I just couldn't. I just don't like. Um, was it season 2? It might have been season 3 of Foundation. I think like second half season 2, season 3 started getting really bad. I watched a lot of these shows a long time ago, so I'm probably mixing a lot of them up a little bit. Yeah, Friends and Neighbors. I like that one. That's I don't know if I finished season 1 on that one. That one's not bad. That one's also going downhill though, I think. Like it's slowly. I don't know if I finished season 1. I need to go back and check. Not as good as 1, yeah. Yeah, Expanse is very good. I didn't finish it. I heard it starts to get bad at the end. Um but I watched a lot of those seasons a long time ago. I think it has like 7 seasons or something crazy. We're trying to rotate back up to what's that level? Like I'd say like 95 here. Yeah, Dark is phenomenal. Dark is very good. Dark is probably a show that actually held up. Like some people say it actually got better. Like got better or it held up. Elon's trying to live out the expanse, yeah. I mean that's just human the timeline for humanity. We're gonna be there eventually. I don't know if we'll be there in our lifetime. Rue, I would still watch it, man. I think watch season 1 and then probably just stop, honestly. Just treat it like a 1 season show. I mean, you can start season 2 and see if I'm wrong. Like obviously we're going to have different opinions. I have a lot of hot takes when it comes to TV shows and movies and whatnot. I'm a critic. I don't like a lot of shit. I hate on a lot of shows and movies, so you guys might like it. But I think that show falls off dramatically. That's one of the worst ones. I think because season 1 was just so good. Yeah, watch Lost until the last episode, yeah. Oh, is Dark Matter based on books? Gotcha. Yeah, I didn't mind Dark Matter. I thought it was pretty good. It was pretty cool. Had a good idea. Wasn't like super unique, but it was good enough. Keep it on 95 here. That would be the normal rotation, but there's also that node at 700, so they might want to go to 700. Yeah, I don't know what it is about Apple. Like I said, I think they might get a lot of studio involvement or something. I don't know. They just start falling apart. I have a bad feeling about Severance too. Like Severance might start falling apart as well. Yeah, I haven't had too much time to watch shows recently. The only show I've been watching recently is Lioness. I think it's on like what, season 3? Yeah, Crypto, have a good day, man. We'll see you tomorrow. You're kind of struggling to rotate. It's still rotating. It's just doing it very slowly. You're trying to rotate back to that 95, possibly 700. We'll see. Okay, rotation into 95 is complete, but like I said, they did find a node up here earlier. It could act like a magnet, pulling you back into 700. We'll see if they can actually hold above 95. So far, they are struggling to do so. Looks like it is kind of being pulled into that upper node at 700, so keep an eye on that. You're still protecting those EMAs, so you're still in a trend for now. Okay, you're not making it to that 700, so going back into rotation here. Just make sure you don't fail to rotate off VWAP at 88. It's just looking for 80. Like I said, it's just doing the same exact thing we were doing the last couple of days. It is just waiting for either the NVIDIA earnings or the Jackson Hole, or most likely both. All right. You stay rotation, now expect them. Yeah. When you see overlap like this, like I said, it's really easy. It's just being patient and kind of highlighting the right zones you want to trade. The hardest part is just the waiting. Really slow. Their earnings are after the close, so sometime around 4:15. What zone? I mean, you can just watch the value high. So like value high is 95. It was 95. It just moved up. So it was 95, and then now it's 700. So like 95 to 700. Then you have like this zone here, which is essentially the exact same zone I just said, 95 to 700. It's really just around that 95 area, the value highs. We are almost quite literally identical, today's value and yesterday's value. Same thing we did on the way up. It's kind of struggling on VWAP, but you're still protecting the EMAs, so it's not exactly failing to rotate. Sellers are getting a little bit exhausted into VWAP here, not seeing too much on the bottom of that candle. Hey, T, have a good day, man. Sellers coming back in. Keep an eye on 80 to like 81. Okay, this is like the top of this zone. If the buyers want to be very aggressive, it will be around this area because that's where the 30-minute lows were stalling out earlier. If they do not want to be very aggressive, it's going to go down to like 80 to 78. And so far, you can see the buyers are coming in a little bit already. I couldn't tell you, Mauser. I do not give earnings any percentage of thought whatsoever. Not even a small percent of my brain power goes to thinking about earnings. You're literally better off flipping a coin at your desk. I've been trading for a very long time and I've met probably dozens or hundreds of different traders. I mean, including the community, probably thousands, right? Um, but over those years, not a single person has had like a consistent earnings system. They think they do. They think they can predict earnings, but they can't. And that becomes very evident once they've traded earnings a few times. If people really had earnings figured out, you would never hear from them. They would never talk about it. Um, they would never tell you their thoughts on it, right? They would keep it to themselves. Okay, so like I was saying earlier, if they were very aggressive, that's where they were going to come in. They came in like literally right after I said that. So they are obviously very aggressive. And why I said that, like I said earlier, the 30-minute lows. If they're going to protect these 30-minute lows, they want to put it in either on the same level or slightly higher, right? Putting in that higher low structure. So we have a slightly higher low structure here. So buyers are very aggressive. And you can see that because they're pushing up very quickly here. Yeah, you can trade volatility, exactly, yeah. And that system has been around for a long time. Um, like trading just the sheer fact that earnings will be X amount volatile, or is it going to be lower than people expect, right? I just found that it's just not even really worth it. Like the payout, the the payout compared to like what you have to put into it is just not worth it. The only way that I found that was worth it is, and this is not a consistent system. This is more of a lottery system. But if you really want to play earnings, the best way to do it is just taking like the 0 days, or the weeklies. Obviously, you can't take the 0 day for today because the earnings is after the market, so it'd have to be on Thursday. So I guess technically it's not a 0 day; it'd be like a 1 day. So you take like a 1 day, or you take like a weekly. We call them lottos because they're basically lottery tickets, right? Um, it's not consistent. You're not doing some kind of crazy system. It's just like based on the chart, based on what you think is going to happen. Take a lottery contract that fits that. And if you're right, you get paid, right? Typically 300, 400%. But you're going to be wrong like 90% of the time, right? So it's not consistent. But that's how we used to do it in Discord. Whenever we'd play earnings, it would be like a weekly contract or a couple days. It'd be like a 1 to 3 day contract type of thing. Yeah, the Iron Condor is the volatility stuff. The problem with that is literally everybody is doing that, right? The market makers and all the retail guys, they all think that same way. So they're all doing that, which makes those contracts very, very expensive. So at the end of the day, is it even worth the risk? Usually not. Unless you get them like very early, they're already priced in essentially. Like the volatility to a certain extent is already priced in. So if it's not extremely volatile, you lose money anyway. There's so many scenarios with earnings where you can be right and still lose money. And I hate trading stuff like that. It's a big reason why I stopped trading VIX. You guys always ask me if I still look at VIX. If you guys were in Discord back in the 2019 to like 2022 days, we used to use VIX all the time. But it started getting to that point where you could be right and still lose money. And like I said, I cannot stand that in trading. If I'm right, I better be getting paid. So I stopped using VIX and started using more of the dollar correlation and the oil and gold and like all the other correlations. Because we had a couple of really big trades that would have been massive trades. We damn near called the top of the S&P 500, right? But then we weren't getting paid because VIX was already priced in, or there was some weird bullshit going on and it wasn't pricing in. So we ended up feeling like Michael Burry, right? Like we called the crash, but they weren't paying us. So I stopped using VIX. That goes for like everything in trading. Like if I can be right and still not get paid, I'm probably going to avoid it. And people always talk about like gambling, like, oh, trading is gambling. Trading is really not gambling. I just put out that short yesterday talking about this. Trading is really not gambling, but if you're trading earnings, then you're basically gambling. People that trade like literally every single earnings report from every big company, they give traders a bad name, right? Because they are the ones that are treating trading like a casino. Or you can, if you watch my streams, you can tell like not all trading is gambling. This shit is far too boring to be gambling. if we were gambling, we'd be having a lot more fun, right? There's no entertainment value, realistically, if you're trading properly. It is very, very boring. By the way, that rotation is complete. The same thing that I said earlier. If they want to be very aggressive, it's going to sell right there around 95, which it kind of already is. Same exact thing I just said on the downside. If it wants to be very aggressive, it's because of the lower highs. They have to put in a lower high there if they want to be very aggressive. If it wants to put in like an equal or higher high, it can still sell, but it's not as aggressive. All right, guys, once again, we streamed a little bit longer today. I'm going to call it there. Another reminder, it is the last week of the month, so be sure to send me any receipts if you guys used code BREW anytime during August. That goes for the rest of August. They have a big discount going on right now, 90% off with 80% recurring on the legacy accounts, and the 50Ks and 100Ks have special pricing, all that stuff. But yeah, legacy accounts are back on sale. So if you guys want some of those, you can use code BREW. If you do use the code, just take a screenshot of the receipt. I need to be able to see the account size, the date you purchased it, and the receipt number, and go ahead and send that over to my email. If you can put all the accounts into one email, that is the best way so I don't lose them. If you have to put them in a couple emails, that's okay. Any account is entered in the raffle. The only account that I exclude is the 25K, because I do not recommend you guys trade the 25Ks. I think with our current volatility, you are just asking to lose money if you are trading the 25Ks. And to a certain extent, it got there, not right now, but a few months ago. When the volatility gets very, very high, it becomes even dangerous to trade the 50Ks. Like I said, right now, I think you're okay with the 50Ks, but when that volatility does spike, like it might around the NVIDIA earnings and the Jackson Hole coming up, it does get a little bit questionable with the 50Ks. You just have to lower your size a little bit. But if you're trading above the 50Ks, the 100s, the 250s, especially the legacy accounts, you should be perfectly fine with the current volatility. It's, for the most part, pretty stable. When you buy the Apex accounts, do you get access to the trading view indicators? Yes. Sorry, I forget to mention that every day. But yes, if you use the code, if you send me an email, and if you need access, don't put it in the raffle email, because I just treat those as a raffle and I throw them in a raffle folder. I don't read them for the TradingView access. So if you need TradingView access, send me a different email and then put in like indicators or something on the subject line. But yes, if you use the code, just send me the most recent receipt. I only need one of them. And then let me know what your TradingView username is. And I'll get you added to these indicators up here, the Momo and OTS, and also the bots as well for 60 days. And that will hopefully help you get funded. I used to keep track of this whole like partnership thing with like you guys getting access with the indicators and how many people got funded. I stopped keeping track. We got up to over 200 accounts. So over 200 people, or 200 people, not 200 accounts. It's probably more than 200 accounts. But over 200 people have gotten a funded account since we started doing that. I didn't keep track of how many people have gotten funded, or not funded, payouts. If I had to say payouts, like a random number off the top of my head, it's probably like 10 to 20%, but it's definitely not like 100%. Yeah, that's something I should probably keep track of, is the payouts. Maybe we'll start doing that. But yeah, just send me your most recent receipt using the code, and then your TradingView username, and I'll get you added. No, you don't have to use the TradeVate platform. The trading view indicators are just on TradingView. You can use whatever platform for Apex you want to use. By the way, this rotation is very, very quick. We are nearly complete. Back down to that 82, possibly back down to 78. Same exact thing I said earlier. Just keep an eye on that lower zone. So we have a very aggressive zone around like 78 to 80, and then you have a bit more of a passive zone around 70. But all right, guys, I'll see you in Discord. If you're in Discord, or sorry, if you're not in Discord, I'll see you guys tomorrow. I will be streaming same time as always in the morning. Peace, everybody.